Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man.
Like the bike?
Yeah.
Where'd you come in from?
Flagstaff today, but I've been on the road since about 10 days. I started in LA.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Wow, Bob, the roofing business has done you well, brother. You want to give me a tour?
Sure. Let's go. I moved in here last month. I got the Green Rhino, the first company. That's probably my favorite.
That's the one that worked for you.
Yeah.
I worked for Green Rhino.
Yep, back in the day in South Carolina.
Columbia.
2014 storm. We crushed that storm. This is kind of the entryway. Got a couple bedrooms back there. Dining room. Right. Bathroom if you need it. Laundry. So dude, the house came with a wine rack. Obviously I've been sober for 28 years this month. But when the guy was moving, I said, you gotta leave some of the alcohol because I figured it's gonna look really stupid, totally empty. I almost feel like I should buy more alcohol because it does look kind of half empty. So anyway, I told him to keep that. It's the movie room. Oh yeah.
Must have been a lot of storms.
Lots of storms, lots of roofs. Dude, I mean, we have a lot to catch up on. I'm sure on both sides of the coin.
Yeah, it's been
Family room. This is my favorite part. I don't feel like I'm in Arizona here.
Oh yeah.
We got lots of ducks, fire pit. The ducks live under the dock.
This is epic.
You're not supposed to feed them, but I throw them some breadcrumbs here and there.
This is epic, bro.
Thank you. Pool, boat. We're always on the tube, pretty much out there every day that the kids are here. And the master suite is upstairs. A couple paddle boards. Life is good.
Looking like you're actually moving into your house.
Face is funny.
Kids, you haven't seen them in a long time.
I know, it's crazy. They're huge.
Those pictures are actually old.
Full-size humans now.
Yep. Jaden's 6 foot tall. Savannah's a bartender in Flagstaff. She may have the gene. It's debatable. Miles and Elle are doing well. Everyone's good.
Hold on, come over here. I didn't know about this. Your viewers should know about this. What's that?
Dude, that's scuba diving. It's a shipwreck in Aruba.
What?
Yeah. That was
you're a diver. That's awesome.
Dude, I'm like the least diver of all of my diver friends. Like those guys will go 100 feet, 120 feet, and I'm nervous usually at 30, but I fucking love it when I'm under there. But I've had a couple like nerve-wracking experiences while I was down there that jolted me a little bit. So when I stay in the moment, I'm good. I have good dives. But I'm happy at like that one shipwreck in Aruba was at like 25 feet, maybe up here.
Oh, okay.
And that's probably my favorite dive. I'm kind of a pussy. I feel safe at 25 feet.
I'm blinded. Go
Okay,
ahead.
we're gonna go upstairs, Simon.
Let's do it.
For the next leg of the tour. I got my transformer paintings.
Oh, dude, those are sick.
This is Jaden's room. Jaden's 6 feet tall now. Set that down, everything edited it out.
Yeah.
Elle's room. Elle is almost 15. She'll be 15 this month.
It's crazy.
And this is Miles' room. Miles is 9, 10 in September. Kids are amazing.
Elle was basically a newborn.
Yeah.
When I left.
It's the master. A little bit of a mess.
That's an epic headboard.
Very epic headboard.
This bed is like humongous. It's not a king.
It's like something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
It is its own thing. Dude, the guy bought the roll it.
Well,
Yeah. So when I bought the house, I bought it fully furnished. The only thing that I brought over was mattresses and for the kids and myself. But the guy that had it on the lighting, this is really cheesy, but it says fuck time, which kind of turns down the lights and shuts the curtains. It actually says it's FAK, which is fucking cheesy as shit. I want to change it. And then I said, dude, this bed is like built for 4 people. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And downstairs in the movie room, there was a stripper pole. So I'm sure there's a lot of debauchery that happened in this house, in the master bath.
oh, this is epic.
So nice.
It's still on there, that sign?
Yeah, you can put it on there.
Where'd you get those sheepskins, bro?
They were like family room pillows before.
I turned on the fact time.
I think it has to be set in a certain way.
Oh,
But when he showed it to me, it closed the curtains and dimmed the lights.
It was on.
Oh, heck yeah. This is the best scene right here.
Not a bad thing to wake up to. You can.
Yeah, I was telling Adam, I'm like, imagine coming from Aruba, and then this is your house you're coming back to. It's like vacation never ended.
You don't really need Aruba. And you
No,
don't really
you
need
don't.
Gilbert, honestly. You need Aruba more than you need Gilbert.
That's right.
I was gonna say, what do you need?
I need my kids. That's what I really need.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
On a separate note, Greg got on the roof last week,
Gray, how'd you get up there, buddy?
and he was right up here.
Gray looks a lot like Sam.
Exactly. He got up right here. He got up there and had the balls to go up to there.
Great.
What are you gonna meet, an adjuster?
Great, the adjuster. Holy dude. Risking it all.
Roofs like Papa. Welcome to the family, Sheldon.
What do you think
Dude,
for?
this is crazy.
So that's the house, and we will let's rip the boat around the lake a couple
Yeah,
times.
let's do it.
I
Might as
love
well.
I love it.
Got your own beach.
I do have my own beach. That was the, dude, that's been like my lifelong dream, is to live on the beach. And the fact that I have about 60 feet of that in Arizona, I mean, it's not the nicest sand in the world, but I'll take it.
Not bad for Gilbert, Arizona.
So what does that mean, Bob?
It means we're going out. Got to put a flag in. I mean, no, at this very moment, it doesn't really matter, but.
Sure, just in case. You ready, Gray? You ready? You ready, dude?
Right.
Hello, big boy.
Right.
I love that. Smart dog. There's a better way. Okay, I'm filming. How'd you learn how to drive a boat?
Dude, we're on like the kiddie course. This is not some big
Really?
boat. This one's simple. We may have too much weight.
Con nosotros nada entretenido. Eres mi lugar favorito. Ey pa, no me dejes sola ni un ratito. Contigo todo es una chimba. Con nosotros nada entretenido. Eres mi lugar favorito. Ey pa, no me dejes sola ni un ratito. Contigo todo es una chimba. Con nosotros nada entretenido. Eres mi lugar favorito. Contigo todo es una chimba.
Simon had a house in Tempe, and they would go out at night with the black light and a pair of kitchen tongs, and they would catch scorpions so they didn't get in the house, and they'd put them in this Tupperware bowl because they couldn't climb up the side.
Yeah.
And so, how many were in there?
I don't know, bro. A lot.
Or like at least a few dozen.
Yeah, there was a lot. It was just.
Let's say 3 or 4 dozen. Let's say there was 36 to 50 scorpions in this big Tupperware bowl. There was a windstorm that came in and knocked the whole fucking Tupperware. So every scorpion that was in that was scattered around.
By the way, I saw a scorpion on your floor.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you fucking kill it?
No, it was already dead. It was already dead. Yeah, yeah.
Where?
It was under the chair at the bar at the.
Oh my god. I can't fucking live here now.
Bro, we gotta get the black light out.
I got a fucking black light. I just had the whole place sealed up. I'm glad it was dead.
Yeah, it was dead.
I fucking hate those things.
Yeah. So I mean, I know you were kind of trying to make sense of like my transition out of here, and
So dude, I remember getting either like a text or something, or maybe it was like something you wrote, but you were in Africa, Tangiers?
I was in
Tunisia. How'd you get to Africa?
Yeah, good question, man. So essentially, I got to a point with motorcycle mechanic thing where I knew that wasn't it, and I was involved in the gardening thing. I got a fire. I got a fire started in me for gardening, plants, food, farming. You know, at the same time, I had been rock climbing. I had picked up rock climbing like as a hobby, and for whatever reason, this desire to travel just began to become like undeniably strong. Don't really know exactly where it came from. If I go back in time, I've reflected on this in life. I go back in time to like sitting in my dad's house in Seattle when I was like in high school and looking around and what all the conventional paths people were taking. I remember having like a moment and just being like, I want to leave here and see what else is going on. Like there was something about what I was observing and the trends and what my peers were doing that was not interesting for me, you know? So I had this craving, and I always kind of had that. So like fast forward, I'm in Phoenix, that's there still. You know, I wanted to go, and I wanted to go explore. I wanted to see the world. I was interested in rock climbing. I wanted to learn about farming. So, and I didn't want to work at the dealership. And so I said, you know what, I'm just gonna eject from this situation. I'm gonna go rock climb for a few months, and then I'm gonna go to Spain. I'm gonna travel. So I did. I sold the motorcycle. I sold my car. You know, I had been working at the dealership. I collected whatever I had. I did spend 4 months. I remember I spent like 4 or 5 months rock climbing, on the West Coast, Southwest, Yosemite, Joshua Tree, Zion National Park. And I showed up at Yosemite at Camp 4, which is like the classic old rock climbing spot, and I met people, and we're just like a flock of climbers following weather. It got too cold in Yosemite, we moved. We're in Zion, we're in Indian Creek in Moab. I did that. I was like became like a dirt bag of rock climbing, dirt bag kind of lifestyle, you know, camping out. After that stint, I packed a bag, I packed a backpack, and I bought a ticket, and I flew to Europe. And I was just on a journey, man. Like I feel like this was me, like kind of, I continue to sort of live in a similar way. I have a framework. I have a plan. It's like I have no plan, but I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I don't have it all figured out. I have an intention, a vision, something I want to experience or create, something I want to cultivate in myself, a feeling that I want, connections I'm looking for, I guess just like kind of seeking something that's meaningful to me. And
Where did you go first? When you brought it to the earth?
I left. I went to Spain. So I went to Spain, and I spent a few months in Spain, rock climbing. I went to Mallorca. God, this is a really crazy story that doesn't. It's hard to tell this story. So I have to go further back. I got to go further back to tell this story properly. So while I was in Prescott, the man that ran the halfway house that I lived in, he's an old timer, and he's a powerhouse old timer. And he was the first one. I remember getting to town and walking around the square, the Prescott downtown square with him. I don't know how many times we walked around, and he was just, grilling me, trying to find out like who I was, what I was about, what was my deal. Was I a real alcoholic or not? Did I have it or not? He's looking at me, and he's the first one that introduced me to this concept of self and what that is, and self-reliance, and my plan versus God's will, and the spiritual malady and all this stuff. And he was digging, and he became a mentor and a pillar of my life. He still is to this day. I was just with him in Prescott last week. I'm sleeping in his guest bedroom 20 years later, and he's a sailor. He introduced me to sailing. He was the first person to take me out because he was always speaking to me about life through metaphors that involved sailing. Sailing is a vertical wind and a vertical wing, and the give, the take, and the surrender, and learning how to navigate with the flow of the wind and the elements, and having a plan. Navigation is truly like an art of planning, where you have to plan, but you're going out and facing elements that you have really truly no control over. So you try to just position yourself and orient yourself to those forces as best you can, and prepare. So there's a lot of stuff. He's always grilling me in these metaphors about sailing. He's like, I'm going to take you sailing. So he did. He brought me. We took a road trip. We drove from Prescott to San Diego. He was a member of a little yacht club where you could just grab a little boat. It was like a little dinghy with sails on it, where you could camp down below. There's like a little bunk. And we spent a weekend just cruising around San Diego Bay, and I was just like blown away. Like feeling a sail fill with wind and like pull you forward, and then relating that to this concept of like where I'm going in life and where am I pointing the boat and who's steering the boat and like all this stuff. It's like this poetic or cliche, however you want to view it, but for me it was powerful, and it again lit a little fire in me. I was like, I want to do this. It was a sense of freedom. To this day, if I'm on the water in a boat and I got people that I love around me and the wind is in their hair and we're all looking out and we're just moving through space, and we're like, that for me is like a visceral sense of freedom.
So you lived on a sailboat for a little over a year?
Yeah, I did a few stints.
Where in the world did you do that at?
Few different stints, but I think the one that you're probably referring to, I lived on my own sailboat, mostly in the Sea of Cortez in the Gulf of California and Mexico. But I bought that boat in Los Angeles, and I sailed that thing down around the Cape of Baja Peninsula, up to the northeast extreme of the Sea of Cortez, back down, doing laps, doing circles, anchorages, islands, exploring, crossing over to mainland Mexico, going offshore, Pacific Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica.
And
Panama.
Have you been in uncanny situations on a sailboat?
Yeah, in quite a few.
Like, what was the worst?
The worst one overall was in the Bahamas on sailing vessel Our Lady, which is a Catalina 42 that my dad bought. Bro, there's a lot to this story, actually, with my dad, and it's true, there's a lot. It's like we could go into this deep and granular. Over time, perhaps we'll have a chance to circle back, but, gosh. So, just to answer your question I was sailing with my dad. He bought a boat, and he was living on board a boat. Why is a whole other story, which we can get into at some point. But he wasn't an experienced sailor. He didn't know how to sail. I think he was lost too, and was almost like following my path at that point. Because I had gone into this, and I was learning, and I was more experienced of a sailor than he was at that point. We bought this really nice boat in the Bahamas, and I had just finished fishing season on a commercial seiner, a big fish salmon boat in Alaska. Came off that boat. Bro, I came off that boat, I rode my bicycle across the country, I went to Haiti.
Where'd you ride from?
I rode from Prescott, Arizona. That's where I bought and assembled the bike and outfitted my whole thing. Just came off the boat, bro, and I was also smoking a pack of cigarettes at the time, I remember. I left Prescott, Arizona, I rode it to St. Augustine, Florida.
So you rode from Prescott to Florida?
Yeah.
I remember seeing pictures of your mountain bike in different states on different roads or highways, and I'm like, yo, what's next with this dude?
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So you rode down to Florida.
Rode down to Florida, left and rode to Florida, bro. It sounds ridiculous, but again, like whatever, seeking your adventure.
How long did that take to pedal your bike from Prescott to Florida?
That was 36 days of bicycle riding, but I'd have to go back and look. I spent longer than that overall. I remember specifically being 36 days on my bike. But when I started, the first day I rode 40 miles and I was going uphill because I was poor at planning, and I was like, just how do I stay off the Interstate 10 and not thinking about topography or not. I was in northern Arizona, but I spent the first few days just riding uphill through northern Arizona.
Was there ever a moment where you were like, what the fuck am I
doing?
doing?
And yeah, all the time, many moments. The first one was that first day riding up a hill, and my bike was so overloaded. I was
With
so
a Marlboro hanging out of your
overloaded. I was smoking. I was like, I'd come off the boat, no cardio, and I couldn't actually pedal the bike up the hill. The wind, I was riding into the wind. I was having to push my bike up the hill, and I was like, what the fuck? I threw the bike down. I remember throwing the bike down, kicking the bike, and I laid down on the side of the highway. I was like, so that kind of sort of meltdown, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you got to get up and keep fucking going, you know?
So from Florida, is that when you hopped on the sailboat with your dad?
So I went to Haiti, spent...
I remember seeing Facebook pictures in Haiti and you holding a couple kids that looked like they were orphans or they hadn't eaten in a long time.
Yeah.
How did you end up in Haiti and what was happening there? We got a hurricane?
There was an earthquake in 2010. I went about 6 months after the earthquake. Desire to help people, desire to connect, have an experience. Again, it was like always like I think that seed was like help others. You know, I kind of strayed from the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, but I still felt compelled to live by a certain code.
Sure.
I think, you know,
Service
and it was always like
critical.
Help. It was like, you know, the help others in service. And I was like wondering like how can I do it? I guess I was always looking for a way to combine what I was into and where I was trying to go and the experience I wanted to have with something also meaningful that could be useful for somebody else. And so which is funny because literally I got off the boat and I was researching different things. The earthquake had happened. I was like, how can I help? What am I gonna do there? I'm just gonna be another fucking mouth to feed pretty much. You show up there after a disaster. Essentially you're just another mouth to feed. Yeah, that's one way to look at it, but I have a little bit of cynicism, I guess. But I was just looking, you know, I was into plants, so I started looking and I started realizing and learning about Haiti and like learning about deforestation in Haiti and how hardcore it is. And you can look at satellite imagery and see the border with Haiti and the DR because of the extensive, you know, which is like very complex issue. It's like they deforest, they don't have access to stuff, they don't have fuel, they're burning it, cooking with charcoal. Why? Well, there's a long, complex answer to that. But I was like, I found a reforestation project organization that was really successful in India, had like regenerated a forest in this desertified wasteland, and it was inspiring. I was like, holy shit, and they were just setting up there to do it there, and I was like, I reached out, and they're like, come on out, plant some trees. I was like, cool, I'm aligned with this, and I got a flight, and so they were having this event. They're like a volunteer event, people to like get a bunch of people to plant a bunch of trees, do a big push. And bro, honestly, I got off, there was like, I had like, I don't remember how much time, but like the time between I got off the boat and the event, I booked a Spirit Airlines flight for like $45 from Miami. It was cheap for like the day before the thing, you know, or whenever I had to be there, and I had this gap, like when I would say 45 days, month and a half, and that's why I was like, yeah, fuck, I'm gonna ride my bike there. That was how I decided to do the bike ride.
From Prescott to Florida.
Yeah, I was like, fuck it, I'll just ride my bike there. I'll get my flight. I got the flight already. I'm going to Haiti. $45. What else do I have to do? Let's see what I'm made of on a bike. See if I can get there.
When
so
did
I
you
did
quit
that.
smoking?
I didn't quit smoking until I got to Costa Rica, man.
Yeah.
It's funny. I met guys on the road that were like real cyclists, you know, and I'm like smoking a pack a day out there, and he's like, I'm wearing jeans there and spandex. This guy's like, what are you doing, man? Yeah. I guess it's always been that way for me. It's like I'm always like, I'll go out. I've been rock climbing, you know, like I've dipped in all these cultures. Even as a heroin addict, I was on the streets doing dope with street junkies and whatever. Like I was never like a cross country cyclist or a climber. I was just a guy that was like out there doing it. Like I don't know, you know, like I just threw myself into stuff, but I've never necessarily identified directly with that. I've never done it by conventional means, you know. So it's funny to meet people out there on the path that have gotten there by more conventional.
So I feel like we kind of missed the question though.
Yeah,
how did you get from Spain to Africa?
So I'll tie that together. So I mentioned Rick, I mentioned sailing,
Yeah.
I mentioned going to San Diego. So when I started, I had this fire for sailing, I had this interest, I was like, I want to do this. I was thinking about how to travel cheaply, how to do more with less. It's like a common thread that I've always been amazed. It's one of the things that's been amazing about traveling and around the world and seeing people living humbly, but I've just been fortunate to see and be amazed by people doing so much more with so much less in so many different scenarios and circumstances, you know? And that's been inspiring. But as I'm preparing to go to Spain, I'm thinking, man, it would be really cool to get more experience sailing, and maybe I can like jump on a boat, get some, you know, maybe there's somebody that needs crew. Maybe, you know, if I want to go from different countries, I can hop, if I want to go to Greece, maybe I can jump, you know, crew on a sailboat. I can travel that way. And then I dove into this research mode, and I found out that there is a thing back then, you know, boat hitchhiking. There's forums and networks of people that are like, yeah, they're cruising, they're doing the sailboat cruise around the world thing, and they're looking for crew, and they post classifieds. So I was perusing these classified ads for sail crew for boats, and I saw like a listing. It was all in caps. It said calling all backpackers, going to Africa, blah blah. And I was like, I clicked on it, and it took me to a travel blog. And on the travel blog was a picture of this like fit young guy climbing in Mallorca, where I was going. Like I already had a mission. I knew I was going to Mallorca to climb this specific place, and there I clicked on this link, and there's this dude climbing there. He's doing it. And not only that, he's on the cliff, deep water free soloing on the sea cliff, on the limestone cliffs, and his boat's anchored right here, and there's people and, you know, beach bonfires, and all these pictures. He's writing these stories about these experiences and going on camels in the desert and all this stuff, and I was just like, fuck, I gotta connect. I gotta find this guy. Like, I gotta connect. I gotta get in this boat. I wrote him, and I responded to his ad. I wrote him. He's like, look, we're off to Cape Verde Islands right now. The boat's full, but keep in touch. You know, I'm going east. Keep in touch. Maybe there'll be a chance. So fast forward, I'm in Spain for a while. I mean, going to Africa was just another one of those things where I was like, I'm in Spain, and this is the Strait of Gibraltar, and Africa's right there, and that's a whole nother continent, and that's fucking Africa. Like, I gotta go there. So I went to Morocco, just like on that whim, like nothing. I just wanted to go. So I went to Morocco, I went to Marrakesh, and I was tripping around, meeting people. It's funny, dude, because like I can tell this story, and I can tell you about the people I met and what we did, and I can make it all sound like reasonable. But the reality is that it was never that. In the moment, I was like probably at a bus station, lost by myself, don't know how to speak the language, probably scared, probably like questioning myself, but like having an experience and like trusting that something's gonna happen and like somebody's gonna show up, and like somebody always does. And in that situation, somebody did. This like bear nomad guy in traditional garb like saw me sitting there, approached me. He spoke Spanish. I was starting to learn Spanish. It was an interest I had. I was in Spain. I was like fired up. My eyes were being opened up to this whole new world. I wanted to connect with people, and I realized like speaking that language would allow me to connect in a way that I wouldn't otherwise be able to. So I was able to see that. So I was making an effort to speak Spanish. I had a little Spanish dictionary in my pocket, looking up words, trying to put together phrases, just making an effort, studying on the side a little bit, you know. And he spoke some Spanish so we could communicate, and you know, he was like, come with me, I'll take you out to my... So I went on the bus with him. We went to the like end of the line. It's literally a place that's called Timbuktu. It's like the end of the line, the Sahara Desert. And he took me out to his family's camp, camels, making tea, hanging out with him in this little hut.
I remember seeing Facebook pictures of you with sand and camels. Is that the...
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
That was it. So I hang out with them for a few days, and at some point I'm like, okay, well, I'm just hanging out drinking tea with these guys, smoking cigarettes, drinking tea, hanging out in the desert, sand dunes all around. And I mean, it's like, at some point this off-road vehicle shows up because there's sand dunes. So there's like outfits that will organize tours, and they take people on.
It's like back in our Glamis days.
Exactly, exactly. And so and we're in like a little camp. It's like a little encampment, like an adobe structure. There's rugs on the floor, and it's just like family, and they're just hanging out. They got a couple camels, and they're just hanging out there, man. And I'm like, okay, at some point I'm gonna move on. Just out here, and this vehicle pulls up, and there's an Italian girl in it, and she's kind of like afraid. She's kind of melting down a little bit. She's freaking out, and for some reason she's like, come with me. You know, she spoke some English, and I'm like, okay, sure, yeah. I mean, you ride out of here, sounds good. So I get a ride out. I spend the day. We drive around the dunes, and we spend a day, and we end up in this town. It's called Ouarzazate. We end up back in this town, which is the main hub, bus hub. Ouarzazate is a place where in the Sahara Desert around Ouarzazate, Hollywood builds movie sets and then leaves them there. Like the set that they filmed Gladiator in, the Coliseum, is out there. You can go check it out if you want. Just out there. And it was nighttime, and I go to an internet cafe because I'm like gonna check my email, and I'm a part of a group online on a website called couchsurfing.com. I joined a sailing group, and every week they would send me like a digest of that week's post. And I got the email, and I opened the inbox, and it was like this guy had posted like, we're in Tunisia, we're going to Crete, the boat Ultima Noche, and he posted a picture, and I was like, it's the same fucking guy. He's like, we're leaving in 2 days.
Same dude that was in Mallorca.
It was months ago. Yeah, from months ago that I had exchanged emails with. Like, I don't know how many months it was ago. And it was nighttime, it was dark, and he was like, we're leaving in 2 days. Like, we're sailing from there. So he listed the name of the marina. Said we need one guy or one crew member. We're leaving, get in touch. And I didn't have time to like email him and wait to hear back. So I just emailed, I said, hey, I'm coming. And I booked a flight. I found a flight out of Casablanca for the next morning, or for the morning of the day he was leaving. And I got in a bus that night and spent all night over the course of that night crossing and then going up north to Casablanca, got in the plane, showed up at that marina, just like found this boat, like, Dan? He like popped his head out. He's like, let's go. I swear to God, I was just with him in Flagstaff. I literally came from his house to here.
That's awesome. So, dude, you're currently living in Medellin, is that?
Yeah.
Medellin, Colombia. Currently in Colombia. What's next? What's on the horizon? We talked about, launching a new business. Still have that yearning and that desire to not fall into what the rest of the world is doing.
Yeah.
I know you had a couple-year stint in Miami for some benefits. I would have done the same thing if I needed a new hip.
Yeah.
So that being said, what's next and what's the product?
Yeah, so I think what I've always been aiming for, or I guess let me stop and start again. What I'm aiming for right now is I want to draw on all of the experiences that I've had and all of the skills that I've learned, the things that I've seen, the ways that I've connected with people, my network, my knowledge of, in certain areas, the things that I've had to overcome. And I want to draw on all of that to create something meaningful in the form of this brand that I'm launching with mushrooms, man, with traditional Chinese medicine and the way they use mushrooms. And I want to...
And when you say mushrooms, I think like you're, eating psilocybin in the woods.
A lot of people think that, but it's not about that at all. It's not about that at all.
So what is it about?
It's about traditions, man. It's about traditional medicine and the way people create autonomy in taking care of their own health using plant medicine, and in this case mushrooms. So this, the use of medicinal mushrooms that have their root and they form the foundation and part of the foundation of traditional Chinese medicine that has thousands of years of history and culture that has emerged around it, and that's about longevity and health and optimizing yourself as a human. And that's everything from your cardiovascular system and how it works and its efficiency to your brain and how your brain fires. There's lion's mane is one mushroom that's really popular. It's interesting because it's almost like I don't really feel like honestly, truly, it's going to sound however it's going to sound. I don't feel like I chose mushrooms because it sounds kind of random. It's like, why did you choose mushrooms? There's a lot of things. I've done a lot of things with ag and different crops. I really feel like this path chose me, and I couldn't deny it. I was like, I have to keep pulling on this thread. And it's led me here, and it's funny because I was in China recently, and I had this moment where I was like, wow, is this just like life is just putting me here because this is my medicine, truly? Yeah.
Let's hit pause for 1 second. So I was in China recently. Why were you in China? Like, how do you end up in China? What are you doing there? Is that where you're sourcing your stuff?
Yeah, I'm sourcing the mushrooms from China, from the traditional areas where they have always been grown. That's important to me. I think traditions are important.
So you went to China to kind of check out like how they're growing these. You want to see like if you're creating a product, you want to see exactly what whoever's using the product is getting and where it's coming from.
Yes, exactly. So for me, it was like, how do you vet? I mean, you want to create a brand or a product using an herb or a mushroom that's a part of this system from another part of the world, the culture that's not yours, but you want to adapt it. In my case, I'm adapting it, combining it with some traditional, culturally significant, like powerful, iconic Colombian crops, and I'm combining them with this traditional Chinese medicine, mushrooms, to create something just really special. And for me, when you think about sourcing something like that and the ingredients, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't care, and there's a lot of bullshit out in the market. But for me, it's important. I mean, I want to take this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is when I say it's my medicine. It's like I'm taking this stuff, and I want it to be good and pure. And I want to know. I want there to be transparency. Like, it's important to me. And so for me, it's like you can only vet somebody virtually, like up to a point. I felt like I had to go there, like meet the people that are involved, look at the ground and the soil, connect with the mushrooms in that place, because there is very much like something very specific about the signature of a mushroom that's grown in that place on its traditional medium substrate in that particular way and extracted by traditional methods. And I wanted to be sure that it was legit, that it was real. You know what I'm saying? So that was why I went there. It was like another journey of discovery, I guess, but it was also for me like quality control. Like,
And when were you actually in China? This year?
yeah, I just got back from China a month ago.
How long were you there for?
I was in China for 3 weeks. I was in Japan for 3 weeks before then.
So you spent 6 weeks kind of milling about to find the perfect mushroom.
Yeah, and I wanted to galvanize my relationship to the people that are supplying me for this brand, for this project.
Dude, I love that. I love the dedication and the commitment to, hey, I'm gonna do this and I want to make sure that this is the absolute best.
Absolutely, bro.
It's awesome.
I mean, bro, think about it. Like, anybody can go on Alibaba and find a supplier for virtually anything. You want to buy mushrooms, you go on there, you'll find hundreds of suppliers, but who's going over there? Like, you don't know what you're getting unless you build a real relationship.
What was the most interesting thing about China?
Oh, man.
Stories there. We might want to bleep this out.
Oh, boy. Gosh, that's a big question. I don't know how to give you the right soundbite. But, bro, I mean, I think for me, I just didn't know what to expect. I give you a broad picture. Like, I didn't know. You hear what you hear about China, and there's, present-day politics and what's going on, and you get this idea. I was almost expecting some, like, animosity. Like, I thought people might be vibing me in the street a little bit because I'm like an American guy showing up doing business or whatever. And that couldn't have been further from the truth. Like, it was the exact opposite. I mean, they revere America, common person, in my experience. And me as an American, there was a sense of reverence and respect. So that was really interesting. Just that reverence that they transmitted to me and how they received me, like with grace, like generosity, and brought me in. I mean, I had so many, that we could do an entire mini series on the things that I experienced in China. But there's just a lot of history there, deep history and traditions. I know I keep saying that, but it's like they're still really keyed into their traditions, and doing things in traditional ways. And like you go out to these places and it feels different when you're walking in a bamboo forest and they're growing this stuff on the forest floor in the shade of this towering bamboo forest, and there's a sense of peace, and there's people there working and they're taking pride in that. There's a sense of pride, and they connect with it. Everybody has a different place in the world, I guess, but it doesn't feel like they're punching a clock. It feels like I'm working with people who give a shit about what they're doing.
Do you have, so you're going to launch this brand of mushrooms in whatever form you're going to launch it. Do you have the funding that you need? Do you have everything you need to launch successfully?
I don't have, this is what I'll say. I mean, you're obviously a successful business person, and I'm sure you've had a lot of different experiences doing things different ways. I think there's different ways of doing it. I know that the way I view it is like this, Bob. I can bootstrap this and take it all the way, and I'll tell you one thing. It's like, I think that what I need to make it successful really, truly, ultimately is, like, I believe in myself and my ability to do that. But I can only control so much, and there's risks involved in bootstrapping. I bootstrap it, I'm going to be going back and forth from Colombia to Miami. I'm going to be driving boats in Miami for a month here, a month there. I got my captain's license along the way, like 25-ton USCG master captain.
Yeah, that's not the right way to launch the business, right? Like, in my opinion, just with the experience I have, I mean, if I'm getting into something, and I've had many, many failures, right? Like what you see here is when you look around at what I've created, and I can attribute that to good partnerships, right? Like having guys like Matt and Colin that were super strong in areas where I was super weak. Like, I'm good at connecting with people and talking to strangers. That's my skill set. Matt had a mind for business that I didn't have. When we first got into business, I thought that business, like everything revolved around the sale. And that's not the truth, right? I had to learn from Matt how to become a business owner and not just a sales guy, because I was in a fucking sales guy mindset for years. And so I believe in order to do what you want to accomplish, like, you need to get in that lane and sprint. Like, you want to drive boats, do this, do that, whatever. I would be happy and would love to help you launch what you're doing with any way that you see fit. I'm happy to dive in, happy to fund it. I have 100% conviction that you would be absolutely successful in what you're doing. So happy to jump in and be a part of that.
Bro, I mean,
that's Simon's towel.
What is that? Oh.
Like, you can play poker with this guy, when he has to be like,
did I do that at the poker game?
Oh yeah, when you had a good hand.
Give it away, bro.
But you don't like when it's not like when you like if you're just sitting here and I wouldn't bring that up, you'd be like this.
Yeah.
But when you got good cards, you're like,
Fuck, bro. Well, I mean, I'm in, bro. I mean, I would be an honor, bro. Honestly, I think you're right. It's like you said, it's gonna take me a lot longer to launch bootstrapping it, and a lot of different things could go wrong along the way. And I completely agree. Having funding and a fucking partner like you would be an accelerator.
yeah.
And I would say that would be the ideal way to do it.
Dude,
So,
I would love to do it. I think the biggest, I can feel your passion for what you're talking about as you're telling the story, right? I think that I'm not a guy that cares to see a business plan. I don't have a fucking business. I've never had a business plan. I had Matt as a partner. You know what I mean? Colin as a partner. That was processes and systems was those guys. I didn't have that. So I don't really care about that stuff. I just care about, are you passionate about what you're doing? And if that's the case and you have conviction, then there's no way we would fail. So yeah, we will, we'll sit down and kick it around and figure out a plan. All right, dude. So in and out of some Alcoholics Anonymous, a couple relapses, bouncing around all over the world and having, you know, the experiences that you've had. Was there one moment, was there one catalyst to change where you're like, I'm not going to be that dude back on the streets of Seattle. I'm not gonna end up in, you know, jails, institutions, death. I mean, dude, I think, fuck, the biggest bottom is up here, right?
Yeah.
For sure. For me, anyway. I mean, I have lots of friends that have done plenty of time in prison and this and that, and, you know. But for me, it's all in the brain.
Yeah.
So was there a catalyst or something that happened, or, you know, what has led to the change, and what do you do now to keep yourself spiritually centered, spiritually focused? You talked about service. I think that's one of the most important things.
Oh, Bobby, that's a good question. I mean, if I had to go back and think about a moment in time where there was truly like a fork in the road and I had to choose, I think it was probably after we crashed the boat. My dad and I crashed the boat in the Bahamas. My dad had relapsed. I was using again also, and I had to make a choice, you know, at that point. I remember I think I called you. I think we talked, and you know, I had to choose to leave him and go find my own path. And I think really it was about finding purpose. You know, it was about taking like the toolkit that I had gotten from knuckleheads, from the men in Phoenix, from, you know, the old timer in Prescott, you people that have been there for me throughout my life. You know, I remember calling you and you were like, you gotta change something, dude. Don't do it tomorrow or next week. Fucking change now. Like right now. Do something you can do right now. And, you know, and my choice was, for me, I found the purpose in what I believed was a form of living a life of devotion in service. And for me, that was going out. I mean, everybody has their own version of that, right? Maybe mine's whatever, different. But for me, that was going out into a rural part of Central America and working alongside people humbly and trying to be helpful. You know, drawing on my experience in ag and things that I knew I was passionate about and connecting it to service. I would say that was it, you know. And that stint, that 3-month stint of interning in an environment that was a collaboration with people for the greater good towards helping this small community of subsistence farmers, like, it inspired me. It's not perhaps the conventional service work that you think of when you think of AA, but for me it was very much aligned with living a life of devotion and service to other people in community setting.
And how do you stay on the straight and narrow? Like, what do you do now consistently to kind of keep yourself in that headspace?
It's a good question. I'm not going to tell you I got it all figured out. I don't. It's a dynamic thing. You know, I still fall into mental holes, but I know how to pull myself out of it much faster. I can cycle in and out. You know, I still sometimes wake up with that sense of impending sense of doom, just existential dread. You know, I'm an overthinker, a deep thinker. I don't know. You know, and you know, how do I pull myself out of that and keep moving forward and keep being a productive member? And, you know, I guess it's like orienting myself back to my why, like my deepest why.
And what is that?
Yeah, again, it's like, it's again, I would say being of service.
I love it.
And, you know, there's things you pick up along the way, techniques that I do integrate. And, you know, it's about, for me, it's about going inward, you know. So I know things get messy and noisy up here. And the input, you know, overwhelming stimulus stuff, life stuff happens. And I do have a daily practice still, prayer, meditation. Even though I can't name God, I go inward. You know, I go inward and I try to empty all this and detach. So you know, I was introduced to this concept of a God box. And bro, I get hung up on stuff. I do. results and situations and outcomes and trying to plan and it's like I'm constantly on this balance of trying to find like how do you plan and trust God? Like how do you have a vision but also let go? You know, like that's a fucking art, dude, that I'm still I'm in that fight, you know, not that it's a fight, but it's like I'm in that. That's my day-to-day, like that's the dance that I'm trying to do, and it comes through, you know, simple meditation practices. Going back to that, I would say that's it, prayer and meditation, man, and that's what it looks like for me. The God box thing, you know, as an exercise. So somebody challenged me to do this. Somebody in AA challenged me to do this, and I still do it. It's like whatever you're hung up on, you can't move forward. You're spinning your wheels because you can't figure this thing out. You can't solve it. Like put it in a God box and just decide that's going in the God box, and you're not going to trip about it. You can take action around it, but detach from the result and let God take it. Like let it be whatever it is. And so I'm like, this is gonna sound really corny, but I try to I keep like my intentions in my heart. I try to live from my heart space, and I try to like make my heart my God box. Like put it in the heart, like let go. Like, that's what it is for me.
Con nosotros nada entretenido. Eres mi lugar favorito. Ey pa, no me dejes sola ni un ratito. Contigo todo es una chimba. Con nosotros nada entretenido.